10, 20 years ago.
You would be surprised at what they wanted to do. Like trying whatever, it's a cigarette.
That are in the later stage.
Let me grab my
We would
water.
like to present Ms. Howard with her certificate of appreciation for her presentation today. And as Dr. Marion Evans Lee said that, and I think I heard Joyce Rayner, those of you who know Joyce, we kind of saw some people hanging out front that were smoking. So Miss Conley's got a form here that if you're interested in trying to quit smoking, we can get that taken care of. And Brenda Howard will make sure that we have, I see some hands up, so that is awesome. That is awesome.
Interesting in oh my word.
Oh wow, let's get
Keep your hand up.
That's awesome. That is awesome.
Please give that back to me. When you fill it, just fill out the form that says participant information. That's the only form you need to fill out.
And also, oh, good. And also, Dr. Lee spoke about the disparities in the advertising from store to store. So we had some cards brought over for what we call Operation Storefront. And if anybody is interested in going into your community and just looking and answering these questions on this card, then you can help support the efforts that we take at the health department in documenting the disparities down to the zip code, to the tobacco stores, which ones have them, which ones don't. And what we see is exactly what Dr. Lee talked about, was that in certain communities it's saturated to where you can't even see out the window. In other communities, there's nothing. So, but we can't get everywhere in the state, so we need everybody's help out in the community. So if you're interested in participating in that, then we'll be happy to send you the cards or give you the cards today. It is something that you can enter online, so you don't have to worry about mailing the card back, but it is attached to a SurveyMonkey, and you can do that. So congratulations to those who are filling out their quit referral form. We're going to move on to our next speaker, Ms. Diedra Levi, Living Affected Incorporated. Her presentation will provide an overview of why LACorp was formed with a focus on LGBT communities, and she will deliver the historical factors of HIV from a trauma-informed care perspective. And she is considered a seasoned and passionate expert on HIV and AIDS in Arkansas. She has created programming that addresses the needs of marginalized communities with an emphasis on LGBTQ people of color. So let's welcome her to the podium.
Good afternoon, everyone. How is everybody?
Great.
This is fantastic, Linder. All right, thank you, BCD. So I figured I need to tell you all a bit about who I am so that you'll understand why it was important to create the organization, the Living Affected Corporation. First and foremost, I am a card-carrying member of the LGBT community and have been for over 30 years. Second, I have had unprotected sex and therefore have been at high risk for HIV and AIDS. In fact, my first test, I was absolutely terrified. Absolutely. So let's deal with the gay part of me. I usually identify myself not as a lesbian. I don't do that because that seems like a singularity identity, and I am much more than who I love or sleep with. You can't get past, and I am convinced I was born black. So I am a black gay woman. Okay. All right, so we're going to talk about why. Why did this just stick out? It's probably because I have post-traumatic stress disorder. Why do I have it? Because more people in my community died in the 80s than in all of the wars since the Korean War. In one community, a small community, some say it's 3% of the population, some say it's 10% of the population. If you ask a gay person, it's most of them. And, and no one thought about the folks that survived. No one thought about that. If you went to, start clicking these. Okay, let's go through the wars real quick. The Korean War, the Vietnam War, Iraqi Freedom, Operation Enduring Freedom, which is still going on. All of them did not add up to that many gay men dead. That many gay, and I'm talking in a short span of time, basically the 80s. Hit it again. There you are with how many gay men died. I think we stopped here at 1996. That is how many in all of those wars. So the impact that it had on people that survived, people that had to take care of those that were sick, because this was bad. This was very bad, a very bad time, was horrific. Did we get the treatment that someone who survived a war got? No. In fact, you just continued to get what you still are getting today, which is inequality. But we'll go into something else now. Deaths from AIDS in the USA. Dead U.S. citizens, 641, almost 42,000. Of those, the dead gay men, more just about half of them. Something is, you talk about a disparity, and that's a disparity. Keep going, Lewis. So we didn't get the post-traumatic stress treatment that everyone did, so we had to create places like the Living Affected Corporation, because we have AIDS traumatic stress disorder. We lived through a small Holocaust, a small war. Keep going. And here was the other icky things about it. We were blamed for the epidemic. We were blamed for that virus. Rejection of the gay community was amplified by this. We were forced to come out in order to take care of those that were sick, because no one knew really what was happening. The mourning process was stymied, okay? We didn't get a chance. By the time we finished crying for the day for one person, somebody else had died. We wasn't getting a break at all. The disenfranchisement of grief. Tear the phone up. Here was the other thing. Sometimes we couldn't go to the funeral. Sometimes we couldn't visit the family. It was a very, very horrible time. Thus, you know, again, we had to have organizations such as the Living Affected Corporation, because we still experience these type of things now. And we're going to go through this a little bit further, because I only got a few minutes. Hit it, Lewis. Hit it again, Lewis. Let's talk about Arkansas. Now, this is information that we got from the most recent surveillance report, which is 2011 from the Health Department. Okay, Lewis. All right. So let's just think in terms of, this is the population of Arkansas. And of that, we know that 16% of the Arkansas population is black, which means half of that, those black people are going to be male, so 8% of the population. And then we've got black men who have sex with men at 2% of that 8%. So we're talking about less than 1% of the population, way less than 1% of the population. Okay, so here comes the surveillance report where there were 95 male-to-male transmissions for new infections of HIV. 95. Statewide. Of that 95, 72 of them were black. That is 76% of that particular sector of new infections. Something's wrong with that picture. That is a disparity. Let's move on. Why? Okay, this is why. And I did this. I went through Google and Bing, and all I did was put black men are more likely to. And this is what I came up with. Be from a single family home, live in poverty, be uninsured, have been in special education, have been arrested, incarcerated, murdered, dropped out of high school, not finished college, unemployed, complete suicide, okay? Suspended or expelled from school, earn less than white men at the same job, experience food insecurity, homelessness, will tell you they are gay and are heroic. So let's add on gay. Now you got family rejection, physical violence, verbal abuse, emotional abuse, sexual abuse, extra days missed from school. You're more than likely to be in foster care. You'll engage in survival sex, get drunk more, smoke more, and subject to further poverty. Add on HIV positive. Traumatized, stigmatized, feared, thought of as nasty, ostracized, depressed, oppressed, and criminalized. Man, yeah, we might smoke. We might do it. Okay, we might do it, okay? And because of all of these things, we do think that it's important, if you aren't in this life, certain things you're just not going to know. So I think there should not be, I'm going to use this one, nothing about us without us. Just as simple as that. We have a program called the Reason to Live program, which the basis of it was housing, education, food, treatment, and employment. We don't think you can do anything effectively unless you have your hefty in place. So that's one of the things that we do. Now, let me tell you this also. There is no one that comes to that door that we say, go away, you are not of this demographic. No one. It's just that black gay men were listed as a hard-to-reach population. And I never had that problem reaching. They were usually hanging around the house. I see them at the bar or in places like that. So, we give a reason to live by fighting racism, homophobia, and poverty. One more, I think one more is, well, that was it. So, all right, I don't know if I know I skipped a lot of stuff, but are there any questions? You've got 5 minutes left. I got 5 minutes left. She said it. Keep going? Yeah. Okay. Okay. This was a hard piece to put together, but Reason to Live, I need to tell you where the Reason to Live campaign came from. We had been talking, we're thinking we had something because we figured out the hefty thing. Everyone needs housing, education, food, treatment, employment. We thought that was like the greatest thing we ever thought of and everything, until that guy died who had excellent housing, education, food, treatment, and employment, and he wasn't taking his HIV medication, or he wasn't taking any of his medication for his co-occurring anything. So what the heck was that about? And then it happened again. And then it happened again. Then we started, about a year ago, we started trying to support just members of the community in what they wanted to do. And so we had this thing, you all remember, some of you remember when we went and did the mountain climb and all of that stuff. That was because there had been about 2 or 3, it was only 2 or 3, that had came in and said something like, we feel like we're just in a concentration camp waiting to die. And this is somebody like 25 years old saying this. And we can't, what is that about? We couldn't figure it out. But it's that list, it's that heavy burden that particularly black gay men who are HIV positive have. And then, you know, it's not any easier if it's a white gay man with HIV. It's just a very difficult type of burden to carry. And so you use HIV as suicide by default, as opposed to getting a gun, as opposed to taking some pills. You don't take the pills. So that's where Reason to Live came from. And we're like, okay, we need to kind of just bring out that everyone has to either think about what your reason to live is and kind of reinforce that in your life, or be a reason. This weekend at our World AIDS Day event, I talked about living beyond reason. You know, when, yeah, you're faced with your cousin who has all of these issues, might have lung cancer from smoking. Maybe like the gentleman who 3 weeks ago, I couldn't believe this, died from untreated syphilis at 30 years old. And it could have just took a little bit of help. Someone that, you know, decided to go beyond the usual steps and help someone. So, okay, how about, are there any questions now? Yes, ma'am.
I have a two-part question.
Sure.
One of you on your slide that showed, I think it equated to the 1% African American male that male-to-male transmittal diseases, of the disease. I have the same question. Do we have research on female to female or male to female transmission?
Okay, let me tell you what's happening with surveillance these days. This is a trend that I saw, and I see Dr. Wheeler back there, and I'm okay with him being there. Okay, all right. What's happening? Okay, we're steadily at about 21% for women that are becoming infected. What I find absolutely phenomenal is there is this section called undetermined, where we don't have a clue of how they got HIV. I don't have a clue. Okay, undetermined. Let's just be real, it's basically two ways. We had some unprotected sex, or we shared some needles, and there is nothing else. There's no other way to do this, but it's undetermined. And so, I have talked with the health department about encouraging those that are filling out that paperwork to make sure that we have a reason down there, well, a methodology, or a way, a transmission mode, whatever it is. But female to female, it's very, very few documented cases of female to female of HIV transmission. But now I can tell you this one thing that is coming up that's, I don't know if it's hit the health department or not. In the gay community, you may see women that whose appearance looks more like the extreme hip hop culture. I'm talking the sagging pants, the big shirts, the caps, and everything like that. Some of these women are emulating traditional heterosexual relationships and asking their more effeminate women to get pregnant and have children, but they're not going outside of their circle, their environment. So I don't know when it's going to hit, but this is coming, I guarantee you. You're going to have gay women that are more and more becoming positive, if we don't get the cure quick, which that's on the horizon too. You're going to have more and more gay women that are becoming HIV positive because of this little subculture thing that's going on. I've seen this. Yes. Yes, Mr.
Deidre, and I'm sure because you started your organization and a lot of folks will job. You know how folks say you got a big job if you're in the doing the work. And you know, personally, I get so sick of going from meeting to meeting, symposium, and workshops, and nothing comes out of it. No action steps. So my question to you, and I guess to anyone else in here, your recommendation, or other than saying, well, thank y'all for being accepting, what do you recommend that we as, whether we are heterosexuals or even gay and LGBT, members of the gay and LGBT community not actively participating, what are some of the things that we can do to move the needle, so to speak, to make sure things happen, and or try to advocate for more prevention information or dollars or funding or whatever? And I know that's a loaded question, but go for it.
I sure am. Thank you for asking. Okay, heterosexual men, talk to your non-heterosexual brother, okay? I don't even know of anything more important than that one right there, okay? The homophobia that is created in the uncomfortability of our own sexuality is outrageous, and it increases the stigma. Check your own homophobia, whatever level you are at. You know, if you're sitting here thinking to yourself, I hope Diedra burns in hell, okay? You know, from that one to, I would invite her, but she's gay. All of that. When you're sitting at one of those meetings, Joyce, and they talking about the LGBT community, and you look around the table and don't see anyone from the LGBT community, or that person that is sitting there is too ashamed to say something, we got a problem. And it's called homophobia. It's either institutional or individual. Yes. Thank you. Hey, Dr. Will.
Diedra, you mentioned just the fundamental issues of reason to live. And many of us get our reasons to live from our religious life. Can you talk about how the religious community has interacted up till now and with the gay community?
Okay, yeah, here we go. This is the one. This is the one. Historically, everyone knows, and I'm not excluding the white people that are here at all, but I got to talk about black people in the church. Historically, this is where all the power movements in the black community have come from. And when it came to issues of homosexuality, you did a cognitive dissonance type thing, because this became your main sermon about homosexuals going to hell. And you know, had it not been for your organ player, you wouldn't have but 3 people in here. It's the truth. It's the truth. And then I've also saw internalized homophobia with this, because we have gay men and women breaking down the church's doors to get in to hear this diatribe that condemns your life. How can you, and you give them some money. That just makes no sense. I have had conversations with some pastors. Now, you all do understand that Paul ain't one of them, right? Okay. You do understand that Bishop Robinson back there is not one of them. There are a few, but there are not enough. When you see a popular pastor, when you see a popular pastor doing a baptism, and he takes that effeminate boy and he dunks him twice to get that homosexual spirit off of him, stop going to that church. Stop going to that church, because, and a lot of you all know exactly who I'm talking about. Stop going to something like that. That's not what Jesus talked about. That ain't love. And it's icky and nasty for him to do a child like that and just push the whole family away. I'm sorry, I probably went off. Okay. Yes, sir.
I was noticing what you were saying about a male to female. I was wondering because I had been in a situation like due to incarceration, but I never had any type of homosexual activity. But I just noticed because I'm always aware of my surroundings. While I was there, I seen a lot of guys participate in these activities, and then they'll go out in free world. I was a short time there, and I noticed that they would come home and they would get with these women, and I mean, like, dang, I didn't want to put their business out there, but I'm like, you know, dude kind of was messed up in there, and he was indulging in them activities, and I was wondering, could there be a spread too, because a lot of these guys were, in fact, HIV positive. And they was long time, like 40 years, and messing. They was manipulating guys with their minds and different type of stuff. And these guys are coming back home now. They're in society, and that's a big issue now too, because they don't. These women don't know what was going on behind the closed door. You see what I'm saying? Yeah.
Okay. All right. Here's another one. All right. If you are incarcerated, held behind bars with only the same sex there, you more than likely are going to participate in what is called survival sex or circumstantial sex, and it is with the same sex. Are you a homosexual? I don't know. But you're going to get out, and you are going to go for what was maybe who you had been with prior to that. It is 30 years into HIV, 22 years into HIV prevention, and every woman and man should know to practice safe sex and to get a test. I would love to,
Personally, I never leave home without like a credit.
I mean, there's condoms, you all. I get in so much trouble about some condoms, you just don't even understand, okay? I dumped condoms everywhere. We begged up on probably 500,000 condoms. You can use those. You can get free HIV tests, okay, and things of that nature. I can talk about women issues, which I think that we have a society where media promotes misogyny. I'm sorry, I do, okay, but on the same time, so at the same time, we're going to need to talk about reentry, okay?
It's serious business.
I don't see a lot of, comprehensive programs. Hey, lady back there.
I have a question. I have an 18-year-old, and a lot of, I attend a lot of health fairs, and they do give out the condoms, and we pass those condoms along to teenagers and different people, not encouraging them to be involved in sexual activity, but I've gotten a response from women saying they break. Okay, is there any way they can use some of that research money to maybe make them a little bit more sturdy or because they don't want that.
They're not using them right. I promise you, I can usually.
Let's let her answer.
Yeah. I mean, something's wrong with that. That's an end user problem right there, because I can take any one of the condoms that are given out and run my fist through it without making a hole in it, and I doubt if they are packing something bigger than this. Yeah, when we do safe sex kits, and you got safe sex kits, we've got them sitting out there. They have instructions on them, and maybe we need a bigger, some of that. Yes. Really, and that's the truth. Do you know, we were fortunate enough to have a gentleman say, someone gave me a truckload of Trojans. Most of them are Magnums. And they said that we should bring them to you. And I said, of course. Do you know every man in North Little Rock needs a. Yeah, that's yeah, but it's not true. Most of the regardless, unless you're just really phenomenal. Yes, ma'am.
Take a break after
Okay.
the next presenter, so you'll stick around to answer some more questions?
Sure. Can I get this one lady and be done?
Well, we are over.
Okay. All right. I'm gonna sit down then. Thank you all.
This whole time.
All right.